I think it's going to come across tilted.
What do you mean? We're notifying viewers that you're live.
Yeah, it's not like we need somebody that's looking at it needs to look at it and see how it comes across.
And it's like you
I can do it upside down. Oh, I'm lost. Ma'am.
Hey, you got your stand. Isn't that cool?
Oh,
yeah.
Hi, Mary.
Hello.
All right, if you need it.
Especially since there's no more cards. I would have gone on there.
But they're only going to give you 3 minutes.
Look, it's a white page, okay? I don't know, it doesn't take long. But if you see any names that aren't on here,
See how long I am.
No. And what's your last name?
Ross. R-O-S-S.
Who says what you come out to?
This meeting will now come to order, please. We'll start with our roll call. We have Dr. Petrie, Tom Brewster, Mr. Judge, Mr. Thomas, Ms. Wingate, and Mr. Pagano here. If we would stand. Sending the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to be here today. We ask in particular for the intercession of St. Joseph, whose solemnity it is today, for our safe travel to and from this meeting and throughout the week. We ask that the Holy Spirit be sent upon us to do the right thing for this community and for this library. In Jesus' name we pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. And now please stand for the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing up, we have staff recognition. This has really turned out to be something of a wonderful opportunity to recognize staff members of the library. I think this has actually been on the burner for a long time, and as we move from November, which was the first first time when we instituted this until now, it's sort of morphed a little bit to where we have several people involved in the process. And so this is, I'm going to read this person who's being recognized today. This is one of our library staff members. And so last month, I couldn't read it because there was a lot of personal information about individual, and there's a privacy issue with not disclosing certain things. So I was a little limited in what we could say. But this is a write-up, and this is so spot on of what this is about. This is for, and Joel, if you would stand up, please. Joel is a true team player. He is enthusiastic and committed towards his work for Lafayette Public Library. I've always heard the phrase that there are two kinds of people in the workplace, those who are enduring it and those who are enjoying it. Joel is definitely one who is enjoying it. He is quick with a smile and a joke to lighten the mood during stressful times, and he looks for the positive in every situation. He consistently demonstrates how much he cares for his job and the community the library serves. He has excelled in the outreach department, where one of his main duties is to drive the bookmobile to various stops at apartments, parks, and schools. Driving and staffing the bookmobile is not a highly sought-after position within our library system, but Joel did not let that deter him and embrace the additional responsibility. Even when the outreach department was short-staffed and Joel was the only person qualified to drive the bookmobile, he did so without complaint for 5 months. He uses this experience to help train new outreach employees on learning to drive the bookmobile. Beyond excelling at his job, Joel is unfailingly kind and has a knack for interacting with patrons and making them feel welcome. Patrons call and ask specifically to speak with him. He remembers people's names, their pets, children, and what they like. If he's not at a regular stop due to schedule changes, they ask if he's okay. They go out of their way to compliment him. Did you know that you have a great employee here? Is a quote from a patron at a recent stop. Many of the children at daycares know that he usually asks them if it's a thumbs up or thumbs down, or a thumbs up or down day, and comes to him to give him their answer before looking for books. He's also great with readers' advisory. He can almost always pull a book from the shelf that a child is going to like. Since the adult selection on the bookmobile is limited, he writes down patrons' interests so he can put polls on books he thinks they'll like to bring along next time. He doesn't always know what to look for, but he's good at finding out. Joel is incredibly flexible. He has shown a great ability to adapt, especially in the face of ongoing mechanical issues and staffing shortages in the outreach department, which sometimes require last-minute changes to the schedule or using his personal vehicle to deliver library materials to patrons. When I think of a staff that go above and beyond, Joel is the one of the first that comes to mind.
Yay. Yeah.
Next item is approval of minutes.
Mr. President, I have some comments about the minutes.
I'm sorry, say again, please.
I have some comments.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to propose a couple of suggestions, or changes rather, to be made to properly reflect the record as well as be consistent with other items the way they're listed on the minutes. Let's see, under approval of minutes on page 2, it says Joan Wingate asked to put forth a motion to amend the minutes, and then the following paragraph speaks to her motion, but there was no second on the motion, so I think at the end of that it should be added, this was not seconded, in keeping with other places on the agenda. And then also it it's a little confusing the way it's written. It appears that the tally of the votes might be reflecting that motion to amend by Ms. Wingate. So again, I would propose that we add at the end of the motion, this was not seconded, period, and then a statement right above the tally of the votes to be the vote on the original motion was as follows, colon.
Okay, let me make sure I understand where you want to change things. Okay, this is the second page, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 5.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this paragraph starts off with a motion to amend the minutes. At the end was made by Joan Wingate, and then what? You wanted to add?
This was not seconded, which is the same thing like on page 8 on another one.
Okay, motion not seconded. Okay, and then what's the other proposed change?
Right before the tally of the votes,
Oh, correct.
to add the phrase or sentence, the vote on the original motion was as follows, colon.
So the vote on the original motion, to the minutes? Or on the original motion?
It's on the original motion, yes.
Okay. Any other proposals? That's all you had?
That's all I have.
Okay, there's a proposal to change the minutes to reflect per Ms. Armbruster. Do I have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Robert,
Yes? We have, okay, we have public comment on the motion to change the minutes as motion and seconded.
Lynette Mejia,
Hold on a second, let me check, make sure your mic's on, please. Check.
Hello, Chair.
Yep, okay, good. And
My name is Lynette Mejia, and I'm a resident of Lafayette Parish. On page 7, between, quote, Mejia stated his support for an opt-in policy, and, quote, the meeting was recessed for 10 minutes, someone forgot to add, quote, Board President Robert Judge ordered Operations Manager Larry Angel to project images from Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe and Fun Home by Allison Bechdel onto the screen at the front of the room, upsetting some members of the audience and disrupting the meeting.
Lynette,
Thank
hold
you.
on one second, let me pause you for a second, okay?
Sure she didn't give you a copy.
All right, where, on page 7,
Page 7,
okay, and where exactly?
between, quote, Mejia stated his support for an opt-in policy.
I'm on page 7.
It's at the top.
Oh, okay, at the very end of the first paragraph.
Mhm.
Okay, and what are you suggesting?
Board President Robert Judge ordered Operations Manager Larry Angel to project images from Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe and Fun Home by Allison Bechdel onto the screen at the front of the room, upsetting some members of the audience and disrupting the meeting. And that was all I had.
Oh, okay, so,
Thank you.
Cindy Fox,
I'm Cindy Fox, and I'm a Lafayette Parish. I want to speak in support of what Lynette just asked to be added to the minutes. Last month's minutes only state that a 10-minute recess was called. They do not reflect what caused the recess to be called. These minutes are a legal document and should be correct and inclusive. Last month, one member of the board stated that there is an audio of every meeting, but an audio would not show that a member of the board, what a member of the board projected on the screen that caused the need for a recess. these minutes need to be corrected to show what actually occurred. Thank you.
Melanie Brevis.
Melanie Brevis, Lafayette Parish. I would like to third what Lynette and Cindy both mentioned with regard to the 10-minute recess. In addition to that, under the new business A and B, I think it was important to note that a board member suggested that ideas from board members could get thrown around or discussed outside of official meetings. And I think this is important because I would be very curious to know if this would violate open meeting laws. I would also like it to be noted that there were board members during the discussion trying to do research on the spot on their phones to find something to support their perspective and agenda. I would also like it to be noted that the entire collection card policy was confusing, and that there's no clear statement that I can see in the minutes that say word for word what motions were voted on. There was a very convoluted discussion. At one point, a board member admitted they didn't understand what they voted for once votes had been cast. There was a call at one point for comments on an amendment to the original motion, which made no sense because no one knew there would be an amendment to comment on. So I really think it's important that the minutes reflect clarity and provide word for word what actually was voted on and what passed. And I would also like to make note under the director's report, because I'm sure this was mentioned, there was no mention in the minutes of Kara Chance being recognized for her national level I Love My Librarian Award, and she was one of only 10 librarians in the whole country to receive this. Thank you.
Norika Ross.
Hello, I'm Ms. Norika Ross. I'm here to talk to you about the importance of accurate minutes at library board meetings. As you all know, the minutes of a meeting are the official record of what transpired during that meeting. Therefore, it should be modified to include the content Robert Judge displayed on and at the meeting during the time. Some people find the content to be inappropriate, some were in support. However, it's essential that these minutes are accurate and comprehensive. It's important that all events, both good and bad, are included in the minutes because the minutes serve as a historical record of the decisions and actions taken by the board, and any omission or errors in the minutes can have serious consequences. For instance, inaccurate or incomplete minutes can lead to misunderstandings, disputes, or legal issues. Therefore, these minutes should include the content Robert Judge displayed on the screen that mentioned, I quote, lesbian terrorists. Additionally, it is crucial that the minutes accurately reflect the discussion, decisions, and actions taken at the meeting, even if they are controversial or unpopular. This includes any inappropriate behavior or comments made by attendees, including the members of the board. As the famous Robert Rules of Order states, the minutes should never reflect the judgment of the person making the record. They should be a neutral record of what was done and said.
That's it.
So we have a motion and a second with regard to the changes suggested by Ms. Armbruster. And we can vote on the amendment. Excuse me? I'm sorry, Ms. Wingate?
Excuse me, Mr. President?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion. Could I make it after you do that one, to make that adjustment? I'd like to have an adjustment, motion to add the adjustment.
Well, we have a motion, we have an amendment that's on the, that's up right now.
Okay, well, let's finish with that.
So we can vote on that amendment,
And then I'll be next.
and then if there's any other amendment that we want to be, we can do that too.
Perfect.
So we got the first one is Ms. Armbruster's additions. on page 2, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, paragraph 5. At the end of that paragraph, motion not seconded, and then the paragraph immediately below that, the vote on the original motion, and then it shows that. So those in favor of that amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay. Ms. Wingate,
So
you
in
wanted
this,
to make a motion.
yes, sir. In the same vein, as being accurate for the minutes, and in accordance with our jobs here on this board to be responsive and also responsible, I would like to, I think Ms. Mejia's was very succinct, her wording. If she could repeat that, that is exactly what I would like to
So,
add.
but I have the first part, I have one, you mentioned genderqueer, and you mentioned, what was the other one you mentioned? I don't remember.
Fun Home by
Fun Home.
Allison
Fun
Bechdel.
Home. Fun Home. Okay,
But I do like how she was very succinct in her description, and so I think if she would just repeat that for the benefit of the record, that is how we would want it to appear.
well,
If I don't have it in front of me, maybe she could read it
look,
one more
this
time.
is what I have. Board President Robert Judge projected images of genderqueer and Fun Home on the screen.
Do you want to include her entire comment?
That's,
No, I think we should include all of her comments, because
you
that,
want the entire comment?
Where it says, Board President Robert Judge ordered Operations Manager Larry Angel to project images from Genderqueer by Maya Babe and Fun Home by Allison Bechdel onto the screen at the front of the room, upsetting some members of the audience and disrupting the meeting.
Okay, that's your,
that's what I would like to be added to the minutes, in
Okay.
that wording exactly.
okay, and I'm gonna amend that to read, Board President Robert Judge projected images of genderqueer and Fun Home on the screen, and end it there. So we
Okay,
have,
you can't amend something that hasn't been voted on.
I can amend I can make a motion to amend an amendment. And then we
Mr.
can look at,
Judge,
and then
Mr.
you can,
President,
yeah,
why are you recalcitrant to have the exact happening here be recorded in the minutes?
but that's not relevant. What's relevant is you made a motion to amend the minutes. And so, in doing so, you wanted that whole thing.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm offering an amendment to that to read, to be more succinct in what I just read. So, there's two options here. There's two options here. They can, if somebody wants to second yours, they can, which nobody has yet.
Or you didn't give them a chance after.
I know. I'm giving them an option to do something different. So we have a motion, we have an amendment, according to Ms. Wingate. Is there a second?
I'll second Ms. Wingate.
Okay, we have a second from Mr. Thomas. I'm going to amend the original amendment to have what I said. Do I have a second for that? Read it again, please. Yeah. What I wrote as amendment would be to read, Board President Robert Judge projected images of genderqueer and Fun Home on the screen, and end it there.
No. It's a book.
There's no second. We'll go to the original amendment. All those in, do we have public comment on that amendment?
How would they have signed into an amendment?
Yeah, I know.
So we would have to go through all of the ones on the minutes again.
Okay,
Yes, I have to call them again for
Yeah.
if there's another vote. Lynette
this
Mejia,
is another vote.
Cindy Fox, Melanie Brevis.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to speak on the amendment that they are proposing to add in?
To add in my comment.
To add in your comment, yes, I will speak to that.
There she goes. There she blows.
Melanie Brevis, Lafayette Parish. Please add in Lynette's comments word for word. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Marika Ross.
I second Melanie.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's count. do it by voice, by hand vote. Those in favor say aye. That would be those three.
There's four.
Four? Okay, so the motion passed.
Mr. President, may I comment?
No? All right, now we have the entirety of the minutes to pass. Those are two amendments. So, will I get a motion to pass the amendments as amended? Move, any second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Who made the motion?
Dr. Petrie moved, Ms. Wingate seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 5, comments. Sorry. Comments from the Library Board, Lafayette Public Library Foundation. I believe, Ms. Wingate, you may have something for us.
Sure. The LPLF is gearing up for our annual event slated for April 20th, 2023 at Vermilionville, themed Somewhere Over the Rainbow. This event serves many purposes. The annual meeting of our membership, and we're always welcoming new members, to honor outstanding supporters of our library and to perhaps bring a bit of awareness to our library, what offerings the library brings, and the needs to continue those services to our parish. The library is one of those unsung heroes in our parish, and once a year we like to shout out about this award-winning library system that serves everyone with free and equal access to all media 24/7 at 9 branches, including online services, and all the while promoting literacy throughout Acadiana. For more information about this event, please visit info@lplfoundation.org. We closed up our year of meetings, and one of the goals of our president this year can be put into pictures at all the branches. We attended and held meetings and met the staff at all the branches in our parish this year, and it was quite an eye-opener to see how many people use our libraries in various parts of our parish. And some of these branches, I hate to say that I've never been to, but now I can say that I've been to everyone. So please join us in doing that. And I know we have all our favorite branches, but it's good to see how the library spreads across our parish. Okay, so that's for the foundation. The Friends of the Lafayette Public Library, I'm sure the members are busy tabulating the stacks of dollars measured in inches or the success for the annual book sale, which took place this past week at the Hyman Center. By the crowds and full parking lot and signs in many yards announcing the sale, hopes are high that it was yet another successful sale for this dedicated group whose tireless work's only beneficiary is our library. So thank you for the Friends.
Okay, thank you. Director's report and comment.
So Northeast Regional Library was sent, Dr. Davis was sent a final offer that was due for a response by 5 o'clock last Wednesday. The library received no response, and so we're taking that as our offer was rejected. We do have one more proposal from another property owner that has been provided to the board, which I understand was waiting to make sure that we weren't going to undermine Dr. Davis. And Holy Rosary is still talking about potentially modifying their proposal to have a long enough lease to justify putting public funds into a building there. So that's all for Northeast. So the restricted cards that are opt-in that the board voted to for last month, they will be available on April 1st. We will inform patrons at the library desks who are getting new cards. We will inform patrons at the library desks who are checking out books who have children with them. We will post on social media and on our website and it should work. The Milton and Doosan libraries, I talked about this last month. Doosan's hours are now 10 to 1 and 2 to 6 because of staffing issues. And we are going to convert Milton's hours to the same. It is very difficult to employ a part-time LTA1. It is the lowest paying job in the library, and it comes with no benefits. And so it is not cost effective to fill the positions and lose the positions to a promotion somewhere in LCG and then fill the position again. And these libraries used to be open with a 1 hour break in the middle for lunch. The reason we're moving the opening time back is to allow us to handle any banking or other duties that staff used to handle when they had 2 available people in the building. On the agenda, when the board gets to it, I am asking the board to approve that we take 4 vacant LTA 3 positions and replace them with 4 LA1 positions. If the board approves that, we will submit this to the council for a budget amendment. The LA1s are the most useful position we have in the library, no offense to any other position, including mine. They can do almost anything. They can work circulation desks, whereas an LTA position of any number, we cannot move them to an information desk and LA is gone. The biggest concern will be that on paper, this will cost us $17,000 a year. In reality, it will not. It will probably cost us closer to $8,000 or $9,000 a year. And to give you an idea of how we are prepared for this plan, something that I have spoken with the former board president, with you, and with other board members individually on varying times about my plans for these positions. When we replaced the librarian 4 position with a technical services supervisor position, we saved over $17,000 a year, and we also eliminated a position that, if they were being paid the minimum, would have been costing us about $40,000 a year. I do not believe that position was at minimum. So we are more than making up for this. So if you would take that into consideration when this comes up in the agenda. And that is all I have.
All right, Assistant Director report, number 7 on the agenda.
So recent staff changes include Matthew St. Andre was promoted to Library Technical Assistant 3 at the South Regional Library. Ryan Lyons was promoted to Library Associate 1 at South Regional Library. Nichelle Irvin was promoted to Library Associate 1 at the Main Library. Charles Stiles, a Library Associate 1 lateral from the Outreach Services Department to North Regional Library. And Becca Fall was promoted to Children's Librarian 1 at the Main Library. Our current vacancies are Children's Librarian 2, Children's Librarian 1, Library Associate 1, Library Technical Assistant 3, Library Technical Assistant 1, Accounting Specialist, and Library Community Relations Specialist. So we have quite a few vacancies that we're trying to fill right now. Most of them are either being posted currently, or in the testing phase, or we're in the interview phase. We had some great and well-attended programs across the system in February. We had a full house of avid readers of all ages for the 100 Book Club Awards ceremony. You can still sign up for the challenge to read 100 books before the end of the year. East Regional Library patrons are keeping active with solid numbers showing up for beginner line dancing, fencing, and Zumba classes. West Regional held Painting with a Purpose, which had 17 attendees. The theme of this program was connected to the Lafayette Reads Together book, Closer to Nowhere, in which one of the main characters exhibits resilience after a series of family tragedies. After a brief introduction to the mission and purpose of Faith House, each child painted a dandelion, which represents hope and new life. The representative from Faith House picked up the completed paintings, which will be used to decorate the Faith House facility or given to survivors. South Regional's Homesteading and Acadiana series continues to be popular, with 90 patrons attending 2 different programs last month on orchards and traditional diets. 46 teens enjoyed a de-stress doggo day at the Main Library, where they had a chance to cuddle and relax with the dogs up for fostering from Acadiana Animal Aid. Snack Attack continues to be a big draw for teens at the North Regional Library, with 13 teens showing up to make snacks and hang out. And the Outreach Services Department has been busy adding new and old stops back to the bookmobile schedule, as well as 2 new bibliobike stops, which were made possible by the foundation generously donating funds to purchase a companion bike for the department back in January. So it's easier and safer for a second staff member to accompany the bibliobike to events. We are in full planning mode for 2023 summer reading program. Our theme this year is Reading Brings Us Together, and we're working on a new reading challenge for the community. Due to the ongoing roof replacement project, the kickoff will be held at South Regional this year on Saturday, June 3rd, so mark your calendars. I have scheduled a librarian in-service day for Friday, August 25th. And lastly, I attended the monthly Friends of the Library Board meeting and the monthly Bayou Land meeting.
Thank you. Next item, facilities update and financial report.
I'll be filling in for Larry. So the main library roof replacement project is well underway. We've made a partial payment of $269,000, just slightly more than I paid for my roof. It's still on track for the original contract amount of $612,000. They've completed most of the demo on the original roof, and we expect them, weather permitting, to finish ahead of schedule. South Regional upgrades, the combined schematic design and design development documents were received from the architect. Project estimates have increased again due to current markets. We're still within our budget. The plans and specifications have been reviewed by Larry with comments and edited, drafted. The library maintenance supervisor is currently reviewing for any additional comments and edits, and the comments and edits will be recommended to the architect and to Public Works. After any recommended changes are addressed, the schematic design development will be presented to the Library Board of Control for approval to move on to the next phase. And we will give you plenty of notice so that you can schedule them to be here. The North Regional Library upgrades, the project architect has been assigned to our project by the architect firm as of March 13th. Library staff will meet with the architect team next week or the following week. Design development phase typically takes up to 60 days. After this time, the documents will be sent to the library and Public Works for review. If everything looks good and the budgets are good, we present to the Library Board of Control to allow us to move on to construction document phase. This phase takes up to 120 days. Then the construction documents have to be reviewed by library staff and Public Works. After they're reviewed and presented to the Board of Control, if approved, the construction documents are sent to the purchasing office for final review and edited as required. The bid contract process takes about 3 months. If successful bids are received within budget, a contract is established, and then a notice to proceed is issued. I already spoke about Northeast Library. The repairs were completed on my windows. North Regional Library has a roof leak. The problematic flat roof leaked in mid-February. A couple of seams were found to be broken, causing water to enter the roof system. Repairs were made, and we are monitoring them. In your packet is some pictures where the water came in. The entire roof will be replaced as part of the North Regional Library upgrade project, and the flat area will be redesigned and incorporated into the sloped roof system. And financials. If you have questions about the financials, please direct them to me in an email at some point, and we will answer them at the next board meeting. The current revenue received is $11.5 million, and that's on page 2 and highlighted in yellow. And that is better than we collected last year. And we have spent about $4.3 million thus far, and Larry informed me that that is exactly where we should be.
And is that it? Okay, thank you. Okay, next item, we discard policy. This is a change in the discard policy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up on the board. Let's see if I can get this right.
Robert, if I may.
There we go. Hold on a second. I think almost there. Sorry, I'm used to a Mac. Okay. This is actually a new policy. This is not existing policy. Existing policy is that the director proposes discards to the board approves it or not, or asks for additional information. This is a little different. So all of the board members have this sheet essentially and can take a second to study it. You're not seeing the whole thing on the screen above me, but I'll scroll it up a little bit in a second. I'll give it a couple of minutes and then scroll it up if I don't do something different.
Mr. President?
So what we're gonna, before we move on, one of the things with Robert's Rules of Orders is we've been pretty loose and rightfully so with regard to the board members giving input, et cetera. So if the discussion gets too long or there's some more points, maybe what we can do is recognize each board member, let them say and ask any questions they may wish to ask and expound on what it is they wish to do, why, et cetera, and kind of go around. If we can do that, that might speed things up a little bit, as opposed to back and forth. And so if you want to be recognized, and then you have 10 minutes according to Robert's Rules. So every board member has 10 minutes to speak, ask questions, whatever they want to do. But instead of going back to one person 3 and 4 times, just try to get all your stuff in at once. So so we can discuss this first. You have 10 minutes. If you want to reserve some of your time, we can do that too. In fact, let me get so we'll see how it goes. I'm just trying to see if we can. All right. Ms. Wingate, you wish to be recognized?
Yes,
Okay,
Mr.
Ms.
President.
Wingate, please.
I would just have a question, maybe I'm not reading this correctly, but it's giving Board of Control to discard 1,700 books per month. And then there's a little one, at the bottom it says 1,700 per month equates to roughly 1 year's worth of new book purchases. So we could discard in 1 month what we purchased in a year?
No, it's not correct. First of all,
What's wrong?
it's the library board of control delegates this authority to the director. As it is right now, I think
I
I
have no
misunderstood.
question
Okay.
about that. I have a
I'm
question
sorry.
of the number.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
Okay.
The reason this is written to discard 1,700 books per month,
And then there's a
or the
number.
monthly average. And then the footnote is that turns out to be what the library purchases in a year on a monthly. If you average it out by month, that's what the purchases are per month.
This isn't what that says.
The quantity of 1,700 per month equates to roughly 1 year's worth of new book purchases for the fiscal year of 2022.
Well, maybe that should change to monthly average in 22, because it says, the way this reads, that we could discard in 1 month what we purchased in a year.
I don't read it that way. Danny, what understanding is correct, please?
I understand the confusion, but we do purchase close to 21,000 books a year, and so what we're suggesting is that the quantity of 1,700 per month over the course of a year is what we spent in fiscal year 2022.
Monthly.
Yeah, but the way it's worded, we sort of figured it worked, but we don't have any problems with the wording.
Okay, well, I would think it should be the average. I wouldn't mind adding monthly in there, because the way it looks, it could be taken that we could discard in a month what we purchased in a year. So maybe somehow, to roughly the monthly average for the fiscal year 2022. And I know this is a process we need, and to keep our collection current and new and not falling apart for, not used for many reasons. So that's my only concern, was that there was a difference in the numbers.
Ms. Wingate, is
That's
that's
it.
all you have?
That's it. That's all
Okay,
I
thank
got.
you. Any other board member have any concerns?
I do.
Ms. Armbruster?
I'm concerned about delegating the authority solely to the library director. We have, I've in the past requested on numerous occasions to try to figure out a way, since this was coming to the board, to have some, and being asked to have oversight and to vote on the books being discarded. I took issue with, we were asking to vote on it, and yet we were all but one time actually given the list of books to vote on. So I have continually taken issue with that, and as my record shows, because I didn't feel like that I had enough information to actually vote in support of that. Also, I know that everything, I do agree with Ms. Wingate's comment that we do want to make sure that our inventory of books, our collection of books is current, and we don't want it to be out of date. However, I know that every book we discard means it opens up a book coming into the library. And I'll refer back to what I was told by 2 librarians, that they want to, or they think it's their responsibility to put books on the shelves that they think that parents don't want their children to have. And so until I have confidence in the library system's collection and bringing things in, I think that the board should continue to have oversight over this.
Anything else?
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members?
Yes.
Dr. Petrie?
I agree. I think that it is absolutely incumbent upon us specifically to function in an appropriate way in an oversight capacity. That does not mean micromanagement.
Yes, it does.
Agree with that. Therefore, I would prefer to see the language amended. And number 1, Lafayette Public Library Board of Control delegates the authority to library director to discard, et cetera, et cetera. I would like to add to that a phrase that says, in consultation with an appointed member of the board. And I use in consultation with on purpose, because I would want whoever that might be truly to consult with Danny on a reasonable and responsible way forward. So I would simply like to see that simple qualifier in there, in consultation with.
Really, Nicholas?
My intention, just for the record, is in no way intended to encumber or slow down the process, but again, simply to affirm our rightful role, oversight role as a board.
Is that all?
And that's all I got, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Mr. Pagone?
Yes,
Go ahead.
just a question. Was there no policy right before this?
There is no the policy that we have now is that the library director proposes so many discards to the board, and the board has to vote on it and approve that discard, those discards. That's currently what we do. That's been, as far as I know, I don't know that any other policy exists. This is a complete change.
Correct. And then with that, right, the previous votes, right, whenever we did vote on that, there was no list, is what we're saying? There was no list?
Correct.
And then, so this.
One time we did. We got a list once.
Okay, so this would kind of, on the amendments and stuff, this would kind of add a listing of the books being discarded?
The only amendment that we have, Ms. Wingate had some question about the footnote language. And then with Dr. Petrie had proposed, if you look under number 1, books 1, 2, the second paragraph, at the end of that, in consultation with the board member to be appointed. That is, that's what, this is kind of, again, we're making sausage again. It's one of those deals. So that's what we have at the moment. There is no listing here. There's no indication that there's any kind of parameters.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess then my final question.
Yeah.
So what defines like them being discarded, just like the wear and tear, just no more wear and tear?
Well,
Is that what we're doing?
that's generally the case, but we don't, that's sort of what we don't know always. Okay. Do you have any other questions or comments?
No, that was it.
Okay. Let's see. Mr. Thomas, you need to be recognized, please.
Yes, sir. I just have one question. Mr. Gillane, the reason why we want to do a discard policy is because room space in the library has become an issue?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that part. Okay.
All right.
Mr.
I'm going to
President?
use my time now. I'm sorry, you've already been recognized.
Right, but I still have time, right?
You still have some time
Yes.
at the end?
You said 10 minutes, and I was supposed to.
Yeah, you have 10 minutes, and I wanted to recognize everybody one time according to Robert's rules. So that means you get recognized one time to ask all your questions and make all your comments. Now, once the person, once we, if there's a motion or something like that, and then they have public comment for it for a particular vote. So once you yield, you yield.
Well, that was very unclear in the beginning. You said we have 10 minutes, and
That's
if
right.
you don't use it, you could come back to take up your time. So I'm really asking.
Very good.
at some
I'll let
point-
you, very good. I'll go with my misunderstanding. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I certainly feel that we hire professional librarians to run our library. They hold wonderful MLS degrees. I think they're very capable to handle the discussion. If, however, there would be some oversight on this board in some nature that we may, as a board, think is necessary, I would certainly hope it would be maybe more than just one member, because that may skew the thing. I think if we have a committee of 3, if this is how this board would go, I would certainly suggest this instead of a single member. However, a committee may encumber the process of the discard policy and making it more cumbersome than it is. But this is something, I guess, I just wanted, if the process is to be changed or created, I would want it to be fair in the discards. So that's just my 2 cents again. So I'm up to 4 cents.
Okay. All right, I'll recognize myself. One of the things that, and I understand why this, Danny wants this proposed, one, it has to do with efficiency. One of the things that unfortunately the board is saddled with is dealing with discards and books, and it becomes cumbersome, and it has to do with the efficiency of the operation. The other problem, and both Ms. Wingate and Dr. Petrie and Ms. Armbrust, I should say both, I should all did, articulated, was the board has to have oversight. That's the purpose of the board, is to have oversight. It's always had that. This would be a departure from that. With all of that considered, and the way this policy is drafted, and Ms. Wingate's idea of a committee, Dr. Petrie, in consultation with the board, maybe the thing to do at this point is to postpone this matter indefinitely, to allow a committee to work with Danny to draft something that is that addresses these issues, one of efficiency, and the other part is the board oversight. And that might be a standing committee to deal with that. But again, I think if we take a step back, postpone this indefinitely, and then we can put some people together to work and hammer something out that accomplishes both of those tasks, that might be the thing to do at this point. So I'm going to make a motion to postpone this indefinitely until we can put that together and then bring this back up after we've hammered out some appropriate language to deal with all of these concerns. So I did.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to postpone this matter indefinitely. All right, do the people that wish to speak on this, because of the nature of that motion, they can speak on the motion to postpone indefinitely, or they can speak to the body of the policy, the main motion itself. Well, there was no motion made, actually. So because no motion was made on it, there was no motion made on the original policy. There was none. It was just a motion to postpone indefinitely. That's what can be spoken to, whether to postpone it indefinitely or not. So you have to keep, if somebody wants to speak, you have to confine your comments to that issue. So, yeah.
Kara Chance,
Pass.
Lynette Mejia,
Pass.
Courtney Malagary, Melanie Brevis, John McHale,
My name is John Michael. I'm a 35-year library, Lafayette Parish library card carrier. And I came to this meeting about a year ago because I was worried about y'all taking books out of the library. It was such a shocking thing that you could just take these books out of the library, and now y'all bumfuzzled me again. Y'all don't want to get rid of them. So I just don't understand. Dr. Petrie says he wanted not to micromanage, but he wants consultation. And Ms. Armbruster says she doesn't want books to be taken out of the library because she's afraid of the books that will replace them. I mean, this is a simple project here. You got an expert over here who knows when books are worn, who knows when books are outdated, and you want to get involved in that? You've got enough on your plate. More than enough on your plate. I was going to come out here to complain about Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk being removed, a book that everybody should read. And it's out there in the disc in the free book period, right? A free book pile out there. So I'm taking it with me. I gave away my copy. I'll be reading this. And I suggest that y'all do it too. If not, you can watch the movie. Thank you.
Mary Lou Garcia,
Again, just to remind everybody, the motion is to postpone this indefinitely. That's all we're talking about, yes or no, and why. That's it.
I need a legal interpretation because I don't understand why we can't speak to the underlying policy.
Because it's not up for debate.
It was on the agenda.
The underlying policy was never motioned or seconded.
Okay, well,
It's not up for debate.
I'm gonna do it this way.
No, well, I just, no.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
Just 1 minute, 'cause I don't want to get bogged down in it. We're talking about the motion to postpone indefinitely, that's it.
I got you.
Okay, we're on the same page, great.
Okay,
Go.
we just want a different outcome. The motion to postpone a policy that evidently has not been well thought out, on which there is not concurrence and consensus on the board, is an indication, yet another indication of policy that is made by the seat of your pants. I honestly don't understand why the board even has to have a policy regarding discards. The library has been functioning for many, many years quite well in this regard. I have not heard a convincing argument for the need to make any changes, much less to postpone. If you understood the policy, if there was agreement, you wouldn't need to postpone it. I'd really be very interested to know what the library branch managers and staff think about this. And in terms of the postponement, because you have 2 amendments that show that there's confusion, I certainly can concur with that. But honestly, I mean, the board should not be in the business of counting discards. I mean, for goodness sakes.
Goodness sake.
Thank you.
Norika Ross.
Hello, I'm Norika Ross. So, given what you want us to speak about, I would like to say there's so much confusion. Let's pretend like none of this happened. Let's pretend like none of this exists and just go back and let the staff resume and do what they usually have been doing for many years. Let's pretend, let's forget about it, and let's move on. Because the one thing I have a problem with is the wording, otherwise unnecessary library material. That sentence in itself is concerning for me because who's going to dictate what is considered otherwise unnecessary library materials? I think that is also like a loophole for people to censor stuff, maybe and maybe not, I don't know, but let's pretend like this never happened. I can't stress enough the importance of libraries and the roles they play in our society. Libraries are not just a place to borrow books, but they are, I'm going to continue speaking, and they are a center of knowledge and learning that provides access to information and resources to people of all ages and backgrounds. However, the success of a library is based on the availability of books and resources, but it's also on the management and operations of libraries itself. That's why I believe you should not micromanage I believe you should not micromanage. I'm going to finish speaking.
I know, I want you to finish.
Okay,
I'm asking you to, I'm
My-
asking you.
micromanaging libraries and the librarians and their
Ms.
staff
Ross.
can have a negative impact on the libraries and their ability to
Ross.
function effectively.
Ms. Ross.
What?
He's not talking to you.
I'm going to
Pause,
continue
I'll
speaking.
pause your time
I'm sure you did, I see that.
because I wanted you to get back on.
I'm
This is
aware.
about the
You want to
motion.
indefinite, I understand
Okay.
what your motion is
But
about,
you-
because there's so much confusion,
I want you-
I want it to be noted on what I said, because why? You tend to make things and implement things and change it, then you look again 2 minutes later, you might change what you just said. You have so much inconsistent, like you literally do so much
Okay,
chaos.
get off the train.
Well, you should have let me finish because I feel like we're not going anywhere. So I'm up
Okay,
here
are
to
you,
speak.
do
and I
you
want
want to, are you for the
I am
motion?
going to
proposed?
finish speak,
I'm gonna let
and
you
I'm
go.
going, yes, please, just
Go
like I
ahead.
said from the beginning.
Go ahead.
Yes, micromanaging librarians and the library staff can have a negative impact on the library and their ability to function effectively. It can hinder their ability to provide quality service to the community, and it can create a stressful and unproductive work environment. Staff members are experts in their fields and should be trusted to do their jobs without constant interference from the board. Therefore, it's important the library board recognize their experience and the library staff and allow them to continue to function as they always have by providing support and guidance without micromanaging. The board can ensure the library operates effectively and efficiently, and the staff can provide the best possible service to the community. In conclusion, the library board plays a crucial role in the success of the library, but it's important that they do not interfere with the day-to-day operations of the library staff. By recognizing the expertise of the staff and providing support without micromanaging, the board can ensure that the library functions effectively and the community can benefit from the resources they provide. So once again, I want to know who will determine what is considered unnecessary library materials. I don't believe we should continue on and micromanaging the content and let the staff continue on.
Christian Green.
Just to remind everybody, but again, we're just talking about postponing it or not? That's it.
I'm Christian Green, City of Lafayette. I guess I support the postponement of this. My one thing to recommend during the postponement is that you consider adding a disposition policy for the items. In particular, I'm someone who purchases a lot of used books online from Amazon.com, and my preference, vast preference, is always to get former library books. They're often in good condition, they have good markings, I use them for scholarly and professional purposes, and I like to use my own markings. So I would hate to think that this number of books would be simply pulped. And if they could raise a little money by selling them on Amazon, that would be great. There are also prison book drives and other places, so I would just ask respectfully that you consider adding something on where these books are going to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
That's it? Okay, so the motion on the floor is the motion to postpone indefinitely. Call for question. We'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion's postponed indefinitely.
Mr. President?
I'm sorry, 1 second.
That's why.
Yes.
I would just like the public to understand that this policy was not drafted, or this draft of the discard policy was not the idea of the board. This was, came from staff that thought that we needed a policy and was drafted by the staff. So just to clear up some confusion out there.
All right, item number B, we're going to move on. Upgrading library positions. Danny, you spoke about this a little bit earlier in your director's report. If you could, you want to expand on that a little bit?
Don't really have a lot to expand on it.
Okay, I have some questions unless you...
Okay.
Okay. When the dust settles, bottom line, at the end of the year, when you finish with all of the budget, what does this do for the budget?
Nothing.
So it's a zero-sum game?
Yes.
So you're gonna move some positions, you're moving chess pieces on the board, and it's gonna increase some salaries in one regard, but you're eliminating 2 positions? Is that my
No,
understanding?
I eliminated a position.
A position.
And downgraded a different position earlier.
Okay, so those 2 moves, along with upgrading, and the upgrade actually, if I read correctly, and please, if I'm wrong, let me know. The people, the staff members that are on the lowest pay grade actually would get about $1.50 an hour more. Is that roughly?
I have no idea.
You don't know? Okay. I read that somewhere.
Oh, yes, that's roughly.
Sarah, that's ballpark, right? Okay. It could be a little bit more than that, but it's in that ballpark range, I think.
Yeah, most people, unless they Most people, unless they've been with us for a long time and naturally already have a higher pay rate, as an LTA 3, as an LA 1, usually get anywhere from $1 to $1.50 raise if they're promoted.
Okay, and but each one of those grades it's a range of salary,
Yes,
correct?
it's a range.
So there's a lower end and there's a higher end. And what Danny's proposing, it takes these and moves them up into a higher range.
Yes.
So the lower end of the lower A range goes up $1.50 and on both ends of the spectrum. So
I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but that does seem accurate.
okay, so I'm in the ballpark. Okay, so we're going to move some people up that are going to get a little bump, and then we're eliminating a position and downgrading one. So at the end of the day,
we actually save money.
okay, so we're either zero or we're net
Yes.
positive.
Yes.
Okay, so that's item number B. So, yes, Ms. Wingate?
And also, Mr. Gillane, not only is it pretty much a zero-sum game, but you're gonna have 4 more versatile employees? 4 more versatile employees that can do more things and be more productive?
Yes.
This is basically why you're trying to do this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to increase our productivity and not cost any money in the budget?
Correct.
That sounds like a win-win. Okay, so any other board members have any comments, questions? No? Okay. We can entertain a motion to do this.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Ms. Wingate will make a motion that we approve the, take action to approve and upgrade 4 vacant library technical assistant 3 to library associate 1.
I'll second
Any other changes? Seconded by Mr. Thomas. Do we have any comment from?
Claire Delcom,
Okay.
Wayne Colvin,
Wayne Colvin, Lafayette Parish. And I was hoping that some of you library members, I know some of you are relatively new, and I've talked some of these numbers before, but it's important. And when we talk in these things, I think you board members ought to have data in front of you. You ought to have how many we have of that position, how many we have of this. What is that trend data over the last 5 years? The library operations have changed dramatically over the last 5 years. I've mentioned that before. Because it's important to understand this thing. We just heard various things, well, it's a wash, it's a little bit increase, and none of that is down in concrete. So how you can hold anybody to it or really get a fix on what that is. For example, library visitors from 2019 to 2022, 3-year period of time, they decreased 37%. That's a big change. And don't tell me it's all COVID, because it's not. Habits of people have changed and everything else. Use of library computers down 45%. Wi-Fi sessions down 65%.
Mr. Wayne.
Check out. Wait, this
Okay.
is all related to the services provided by library personnel. And it drives the need for certain positions across the library services.
I just want to make sure we're staying germane to the issue.
We are.
Okay.
Because, so, we had all these big high volumes 3 or 4 years ago, and our salaries back then, the salary budget was $5,750,000. Now it's $5,530,000. That went down $220,000 over that 3-year period. That's a decrease of 3.7%. All those others were 30, 45, 65. What I'm saying is, those numbers changed a lot, and the salaries didn't go down very much.
Oh, Lord.
All right, so that's a lot related to the personnel. And how many headcount did we have back then? How many do we have now? You ought to be having that trend data so that you would know what that thing is. You have the policy controls to say, hey, what is that? Good and bad, particularly new members that come in and say, give me the history, because they may not be familiar with the operations of all of this. So I ask you to defer this issue until you can get that trend data, because it's important to understand it and to have it there.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
That's it.
That's it? Okay. So we have a motion and a second, and I'll ask for a question. Unless there's another question, does the board member have any comment?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For Mr. Galeen. Thinking again of what Mr. Coleman had to say, and also over the past 14 months, having heard a lot from Larry Angel, am I safe in assuming that Larry has the data to go with these proposals and that these changes will in fact not harm the budget balance sheet?
Yes. And if I may add, in the last 2 budget years, the Lafayette Public Library is the only, allow me to indicate that, meaning that nobody else in Lafayette Consolidated Government reduced their manning tables. We have reduced our manning tables by 8 per year for a total of 16 people in the last 2 years. We are the only Lafayette Consolidated Government department to reduce our manpower. And we are looking at these positions. We're trying to add efficiency and flexibility to our staff. And all of the numbers go through Larry first. But oddly enough, I know how the numbers work too. Just so that y'all know, should Larry ever, be on vacation, you're good.
Thank you.
Any other board comment? No? We can call for a question and a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Item number C, executive session. So we'll call that, and we'll be back in.
President.
Somebody's gotta make a motion.
Oh, somebody's got to make a motion.
To go into executive session.
I move that we move into executive session.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Second.
I have public comment on that.
Okay.
Greg Ortman? Okay.
That's it? Okay. We have a motion and a second. We got to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, here we go. Do we have some music to play? Some
Intermezzo. That's the word you're looking
That, I think that'll go.
for. Can I pause it already?
It's basically the same. So I would just leave it on keep it shut down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to her about this. Do you want her to?
I'm gonna go.
Or wait.
And what's You're welcome. I think you are bringing a lot to the table. Getting people think a little bit more, even in a struggling situation. You bring something that's a few months back. Very orderly. All right. Yeah.
So then that would be yeah, I'm sure, but still they have to take their time. You know.
because I wrote down.
I put one, but as a kid, I would suggest that you agenda items. You go around. Yeah, next on.
Should I put like what it is? Like any
Yeah, just that's on the subject matter. If you, I mean, you don't need it. I put 10-minute limit, but you really, that's like optional. I'll have to look at it. I suggest you give your mom a ticket. I'm going to get her to read mine. Well,
When they told you what the he told us to
I know, I tried to send him mom, but he's such a stereotypical teenager. He gets home and he's like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so not I'm like, and it's not just been last yeah, exactly. Hard day at school. So, yeah. And he met, like, if you met him, like, I'm surprised because he is shy. Like, he looks like yeah, he would rather just, like, not hang over. So for him to do something like that was kind of surprising. But hilarious.
Oh, yeah, I looked up. She said that it was.
Like 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I mean, it just depends on the call. I've got plenty of time.
No, but I went to a meeting as well, and that's but that's not really don't tread on the bone, something public school. So I was like, what the hell? And so I was like, we talked to him about this, and we kind of just like, whatever, it's free. This is why I didn't know it was because it's yeah, but they like anti-gay and all that other stuff. So a lot of parents, because parents are calling us like, hey, we don't want our gay kids to have to go to school. They would have been advocating or against it. Yeah, that's what advocacy does. Yeah. So it's like a stupid organization. And they thought that role, the teacher, like she has crazy, Anna said she knew her from the school and she was crazy. Not just all
Well, they think that they're going.
Somebody mentioned that they were actually discussing what is happening in the meeting. So I don't want to speak for that, but I think she was on the front. If we ever wanted a program to be wanted us to.
No, I couldn't believe it. I was like, and then
not that we're the experts, but we're just more than happy to share our experiences. Yes, that's okay. I mean, no, they have.
no, they won't allow it. Oh, they will not.
He even said,
Started all this morning
so he's there. I mean, it's they're coming to elections right now. They're starting to Tulsa, but they're also coming.
every other time. That's what they believe in. That is good. You know? Like what?
I always love watching like movies like Fox. I'm like, I would never do that, but I love watching. I love cheering on other people. That's why I'll get doing
Better.
You know, sometimes with all that you got going on, stress. Worried about Marie. Oh, did you tell Daddy about Marie? Worried about Marie, worried about...
Hopefully that goes away.
And drinking lots of water.
That. I like that we're drinking water.
I mean,
I just wrote in my notes.
I would change. I would change. And that's it.
Wait, what?
Just like, you know, there's another door to that room. I wouldn't put a pattern just to see that. Leave us in here all night. You're like, Saka.
I don't know. I think he was on that table.
okay, mommy, you should have a beer.
Yeah.
But the after,
We do.
it's not easy. Now, when people are
Stop.
Oh wait, is it still live?
Yes, it's still live.
Because he doesn't feel like Congress is providing services.
I'm sitting in your chair.
Oh, no, they're against clean earth. Oh, no, that's one of the things they're against. Clean earth.
Oh, no.
I mean,
So tell me all about it.
About what?
I can't really like that to me seems like that was like such an easy thing for
She
every
looks very disheveled.
I think that they do, yeah. They say something like yada yada about it and asked her.
Like in between sessions.
It's gonna go by different people and there will be
This hurts so bad.
That's the problem.
A lot of the meeting was about public transportation. That was the deal that they were dying on. They love their big trucks. And that seems like a little trope in trucks and just let your skin first. 100%. Yeah. And I
She was like, hey, I miss you guys. The house is going.
other countries,
Yeah, that's
like,
cool.
people
How's
love
CT
their
out of the
public transportation.
So what do you say about
I hate driving. I have to do that.
So she wanted you.
I guess he was like, so what did he say? Like about before class? Oh, if you're all the time.
You know, like you go
So we told her, and she was like, yeah, that's great. So like tomorrow you can or maybe next week.
we downloaded an app, the train
Yeah, so maybe if that's good, then you can use
what are y'all sneak talking about me?
But talk to me.
like, yeah, that was but I don't understand why they what is your like is this
Yeah, I'll look into that. I think if we have a different cable on one of the other ones, it can. What's wrong?
I was thinking how people said we're doing
Yeah, it's live.
basically. Don't do that.
Move over to the other knee.
Just like it's going to be more than 5 minutes. I'm sure the attorney is probably answering questions. Telling them that they should comment in public. That kind of stuff.
Which one do you like?
I'm not okay.
That's not what What?
Next is comments from the public after all the announcements and stuff. So I would say once they come out, 40 minutes.
About what?
Oh, I'm saying we want to know what's happening. We're all like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, please. I just what I said on I don't know. I mean, Claire just said, no, actually, when June brought it up all those years ago, when Gene Menard started stirring us up. I said, well, can't we manage him? I was giving us some good little blueberries going on, birds and white say we could. Gene was laughing. And I don't know. I don't know.
I'd like to know like the reason.
Well, because he knows the truth, and you don't know it. And he's a good example of the truth.
I know, but that can't be the official position of the library.
No, I'm telling you, it's because he is taking the research of the truth.
Oh, I fully, yeah, I get that. I'm just saying, like, if someone were to ask us, what's your name again?
My name is Margaret West.
Hey, Margaret, nice to meet you, Margaret. I'm Natalie. Yeah, what a while. Not that she's an
I know, different. But not mellow.
No.
I'm getting hungry. That's what he's counting on.
That's exactly, yeah. He wants to come out to he wants to have meet everybody.
Not only if I take my chair, I'm going to the girls' room real quick. What are y'all eating tonight? What are y'all gonna eat tonight? Are you Lynette's husband?
Yes, I am.
I'm Margaret Oakers.
I'm Pablo Mejia.
It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What do you
Margaret?
do? Margaret. Or Margarita, depending on who I'm talking to. What do you do?
I manage engineering group for a defense company.
Good. It's a good job. It's a good job.
What do you do, Margaret?
I take care of my husband. And
We generally need a lot of taking care of.
Oh God. You guys are the best.
High maintenance.
Oh God. I mean, I might be extra, but my husband doesn't even know how to act if the shirt's on him. You know, it's actually he's not.
Like the elevator, pop up alarm.
When I say or I don't know, have any idea what you're talking about. You know, he's just smart like that.
I don't know if this thing is still broadcasting. Just compare it to me.
You're kidding, right? You don't turn it on all the time.
I don't know how.
That's not good. That's not good. You may want to cut it out. Because these girls are in the you might want to cut them out.
Oh, after I'm sure she'll cut it out.
Yeah.
But I'm just like screaming right now.
What? We're not at me.
To see that we're not lying. You know, y'all were making that up. I'm sure, like, I think someone making that up. It took a little bit to it. We don't want to in the food. We're making it sure. You gotta plan the elevator ride. Like,
There's only a few people watching.
just depending, yeah, like
It doesn't matter.
It's like 5.
Well, Danny was excused, so maybe we're on our way.
Danny left?
He's right there.
Oh.
He didn't want to stay in there here.
I didn't know he was back there.
Them wax on with their attorneys' notations. What does that mean? What's a ding dong? Does that mean they're coming back? Is that the announcement of the return of the king with the crucifix? Is that coming online, Mr. Judge? That's what I call it, all lowercase. Let me give you my,
That's only there's like yeah, there's also one sit here and cheer you on. But is that near here?
was like, okay. So that was sort of like a date night.
I love a walk.
Oh God, I love it.
I mean, like, I find it,
And just like sit with each other and see each other forever.
okay, I have been and I know, I want to tell you in the big chat, but I don't think they listen to the podcast. Oh, did you listen to that? Not one yet. I had no idea how absolutely insane I was. Wait until you up and down. It wasn't the episode that I thought.
That's why I skipped.
I got it. I kept running, but I didn't go back to it. Well, wait.
You know, I told you that I bought myself a Patreon.
Yes. Are you in it? I'm not. Okay. I'll tell you my reason.
It's so dark. You finished? There's not that much. No. No, not this one. Some of the Patreon. I'm almost. I don't have much left. Only for like the stuff I was like. But they posted. They posted that they did. And I was laughing so hard that I had tears. I was crying, and he's like, I know. And it's because they were talking about what's Nathan? Nick guy who does their, he's like their executive producer. Leon. They're saying,
My wife's lost. They were like, these probably and it was, I don't know that Leon had done.
And it was like, I can't. They told him wrong. And he just like starts showing all these eggs, and he says it the exact way. He got these raptors to walk with me. And they do this thing that they
Where's Lynette? Oh, there's Mr. Did you find your girl?
I knew you were going to ask me that question.
There she is. No, she said you don't talk to her. No, she don't talk to her.
Do they use these for anything nefarious after? Can they, Lynette, can they use any of this information after in a nefarious way to come after
I don't
us,
think
or-
so.
Okay,
I mean, they ever have some name.
So she told you to stay away from her? She said that she, and this is years ago now, right? She said, well, somebody got in her ear and she thought I was doing something bad. I said, well, that doesn't sound bad.
She's crazy. I don't know where she gets that from.
I think
She's extremely paranoid.
but you know what I'm saying? I think it has to do with her. I think she's afraid. I mean, physically afraid. They were such good friends, sweetie.
We were. You put on here.
Has that been recording people's conversations, Miss Missy Miss? No. I was talking about my husband, not thinking of it.
Probably not loud enough.
Huh?
You have to edit that part out.
You have to
We were
edit the
talking
whole
about our
thing. These
spouses.
people were talking about serious stuff right here. Kara's she's sitting right there. Kara's right here. She was talking about serious stuff. No, I promise you, there's no more fighting, little angel. We love praying for you so hard. Or a little pastor. Oh, a librarian with a bag.
They were like, is that recording like that?
Yeah, I think so. That's what we were talking about.
just understand you weren't doing that. That's weird. I mean, I'm sorry, because you know I really care for her. And, you know, she doesn't talk to me. She'll return. Yeah, I think she has relationship issues. You know what I mean? But Mike got a job. That was really good news. Because you know how she was sick all the time. Mama, it's like we can't afford that now. Oh, what? The little girl?
Thank you.
How brilliant she is.
We'll be back in order now. Item number 10, announcements. Reminder that the next library board meeting will be Monday, 17th of 2023. Yearly ethics training and sexual harassment training must be completed before December 31st of 2023. Personal financial disclosure due on or before May 15th of 2023. So that's for the board members. And then, do we have any comments from the public on matters that were not on the agenda?
Kara Chance?
Please make sure that your comments have to do with library business. I'm sure they do, but just a reminder. Thank you.
Kara Chance, Lafayette Parish. The passage of the collection development policy, with the passage of the collection development policy, the library is assured opt-in parents, as few as they may be, that any material in the children and teen sections will not include content meeting the sexually explicit definition. I have a few questions about the implementation of that. Firstly, which knowledgeable people are going to read through the thousands of books in the children's department and the teens department to determine if the book meets the criteria? Secondly, how long will it take for these people to read through the thousands of books in the children's department and the teens department? And will the public be informed of the time frame? Thirdly, where will the books that don't meet the definition be placed? The adult section is limited, and unfortunately, our buildings do not have the sci-fi ability to expand according to the content. There are lots of questions, and the end effect could be that a large number of teen and children's books are moved elsewhere because of the wishes of only a handful of parents. I'm concerned that there are impediments to the realistic implementation, yet the library is now taking responsibility for providing material that's deemed appropriate for minors according to the new policy. Thanks.
Thank you.
John Rochelle?
Oh, Michelle?
Yeah. Close there.
Mike, no.
That's rich. Could you pick up your mic so it's closer to your mouth, please, sir? Thank you.
All right, good evening. John Rochelle, Lafayette Parish. I wanted to come here today to discuss and really to comment on the importance of not censoring public comments in our library board meetings. This is a critically serious issue. As you know, the First Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees our right to criticize public officials during public comment, especially when it pertains to the matter at hand, like this public board that governs the library. When citizens speak freely, it helps ensure that our government is accountable to its people. This is why it's so important that we do not censor public comments. It's really only when we allow for public comment and open discourse that we can truly understand and learn from one another, and I think that's what the whole community needs to understand. Criticism and statements that are true are not a personal attack. They're forms of expression that allow citizens to communicate their opinions and hold their government accountable. This is something bipartisan that everyone should agree on. To censor speech is to take away an important tool of accountability. Censoring these comments silences the voices of those who have something to say, and board members cannot be allowed to censor speech about themselves simply because they do not like it. Unfortunately, this is exactly what happened recently when Robert Judge, the board president, removed a member for criticizing a board member. This is a clear violation of our First Amendment, and it sets a dangerous precedent for the future. Even more concerning is that law enforcement was then allowed to remove a woman for speaking about what she felt, and really what was true. In conclusion, it's really essential that we don't censor public comments in open meetings. It's not okay. I'm going to go a little off script here because I usually don't give speeches from notes. What Melanie did, while direct, was as polite as she could really be, given the subject matter. Really, it was. If you don't like the way that she had to say her statements, I can personally assure you, you will really not enjoy what a lot of us who care about free speech have to say at these board meetings during public comment and criticism. In closing, I'm really looking forward to the board, especially the president, facing the consequences of the actions that they've carried out. Thank you for your time. Have the day you deserve. Thank you.
Lynette Mejia.
My name is Lynette Mejia, and I'm a resident of Lafayette Parish. I have a couple of issues I'd like to speak about tonight. First, in case you aren't aware, last month the board committed yet another open meetings violation. The agenda from last month clearly shows that the library card policy and the collection development policy as two separate agenda items, yet the President Robert Judge combined them into a single item without the vote of the board allowing a change to the agenda or comment from the public for the same. That illegal procedure also resulted in a mishmash, patched up policy, which now reads like it was written by someone who is functionally illiterate. We now have an opt-in card for minors, as well as restricting R and NC-17 classified DVDs, movies, and any sexually explicit material to adult users only to view or to check out to those patrons 17 years of age or older. So parents can opt in for their under 17 children, but their under 17 children are restricted anyway. That literally doesn't make any sense at all. I humbly ask that you nullify that vote and return the collection development policy back to the way it was prior to the vote on February 15th. The second thing I'd like to mention is the fact that the EV chargers have been turned off at the West Regional Library in Scott. I know some of you are gleeful, some of you may even have participated in it, but I'm hoping some of you don't know much about it or haven't thought about the good those types of things do for the community. Having these chargers so close to the interstate, which were installed with grants and only cost a few dollars a month to operate, is such a great way to welcome people to Lafayette. People find out they can top off their charge here, so they stop in, see our fantastic little library, and maybe decide to stay and have lunch, or maybe decide to stay overnight on their way back through town. Not to mention the fact that we have local residents who use those chargers as well. Why take away this cheap, wonderful resource that promotes our parish and benefits our residents just to save a couple of dollars a month? After only 4 years of operation, Lafayette should be continuing to look toward the future, not sliding back into the past. I'm asking that you please tell Director Ghislaine to turn those chargers back on. Thank you.
Courtney Malagary.
Courtney Malagary, Lafayette Parish. So, in regard to the new policy that's been implemented, on behalf of myself and a lot of people who cannot be present here, who are of like mind, which are many, we'd all like to say thank you. Thank you for heeding the recommendation set forth by the Louisiana Attorney General. Although well-organized and well-funded,
Excuse me, 1 second, hold on a second. She has the floor. I'm gonna let it go a little bit, because you kept going. She has the floor, please be silent while she's speaking. Go ahead.
although opposing groups may be well-organized, well-funded, and relentless, and have recruited and radicalized local people from our community and continuously push this inhumane agenda, most local people do not want this type of material readily available to children. And they certainly don't want to fund it through their tax dollars. It's become so clear that these people that are promoting this are divorced from the reality of what happens whenever these things are promoted. It is ignored that these things lead to things like drug addiction, porn addiction, prostitution, and eventually suicide. It is a disgrace that we don't have more drug addiction counselors coming up here and pointing out the fact that sexual abuse during childhood will lead people down the road to drug addiction, suicide, and all kind of other criminal behaviors. A lot of people who are incarcerated in prison right now are people who were the victims of sexual assault. And that is undeniable. This is a known fact. You can be divorced from that in your own mind, but in reality, this is what happens whenever kids are exposed to this kind of thing, or these types of things are promoted to adults to do to children, like it or not. And here we are. Thankfully, this policy has been implemented at least here. At least it's here, because it is undeniable that these pressure groups are promoting a new form of eugenics, and right now there are children that are being sterilized for the rest of their life based on lies and propaganda. And it doesn't matter if you call it censorship. It's a lie. It's not censored. If you want to find these materials, you can go outside of the library and get them. That's right. Not just the library has it. It's not censorship. It's a lie to call it censorship. Thank you. God love all of you.
Oh.
Margaret West.
Good evening.
My name is Margaret Oakers West. Tonight I'd like to give thanks to some of the citizens of Lafayette and other parishes. Actually, we have a pretty good group that continue to lead us through these dark times surrounding our library system. First of all, I'd like to mention our dedicated and intimidated librarians. Jean Menard, administrator of the supporters of the Lafayette Public Library System. Lynette Mejia, administration for the Citizens Against Censorship. Mary Gercio, who's administrator and does it all, it seems. Norika Ross, who says everything that we can't when we're at home. And our very own Melanie Brevis and Kara Chance. There are so many of us working behind the scenes, so many others, too numerous to mention. To all of you, I say, keep banging the drums of anti-fascism, anti-citizenship, censorship, and anti-inclusion. Most of all, I ask you all to vote. Vote like the American way is disappearing, because it may be. Thank you.
Melanie Brevis.
Good evening, Melanie Brevis, Lafayette Parish. At the February meeting, we were told this was democracy in action. No, it's not. What we witnessed was a group of people, including myself, defending basic constitutional rights from another group of people determined to take them away. What we witnessed were people, including myself, trying to save democracy from fanaticism, from a group who wants to impose their standards and actually try to parent our kids. What we witnessed were blatant attempts to violate parental rights. We will not let those who are trying to destroy democracy and parental rights here in the library claim that they are part of the democratic process. We are not two sides trying to resolve differences. Our side, in protecting free speech and parental rights, is at odds with the other side, who is determined to turn its community and state into a theocracy. The only thing our children are being exposed to is religious overreach here. The only thing being protected by these standards some on the board want to impose is people's own prejudices. We heard from people at the last meeting who made it clear from their suggestions that they have no idea how libraries work. With the policies they seek to impose, we will have Captain Underpants next to the Bible, next to Beloved. Their system of organization makes no sense. It's not based on professional standards. Instead, they want to impose their own religious standards on this entire community. The audacity, as if a number of kids or a medical degree qualifies them to jump in and take over the library. Their suggestions were both ignorant and insulting. The collection has already been evaluated for age appropriateness by the professionals. We know we're hitting nerves. Reading out loud a comment a board member made to a grieving mother on an online platform, nerve. Reminding another board member that they stood with an extremist anti-LGBTQ religious group in protest of a library program, nerve. Stating the fact that the majority of the board has been appointed over more qualified candidates, nerve. Reminding those activists who continue with their anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and requests to censor that they will be seen in the same light as segregationists, nerve. I am sorry to the LGBTQ community, to librarians and staff, to the press, for the trauma and abuse you've had to endure at these meetings. I am sorry you have been on the receiving end of uncivil actions and words by a vocal religious activist group who think that the board and police exist for their protection only. These activists are protecting their children from certain ideas, but truly it is us as a society who should worry about protecting our children from outdated beliefs that can only take us backwards. Thank you.
John Michael.
John Michael. First of all, I want to let everybody know who was concerned about Billy Lynn's long halftime walk. That Danny has assured me that there are 2 additional copies still in circulation. So that's good to know. This is an anniversary for me. 1 year ago, this month, I attended my first board meeting. The only other person that knows this is my wife, who wonders where I go every 3rd Monday of the month. It's important to her because she has a vision problem, and she gets all her reading material through the library. So I'm very appreciative of this library. In the year I've been coming to these meetings, I've seen a lot of things. I didn't see every arrest or expulsion, but I saw the first one, and that was very sobering. I didn't see the cartoon image last meeting.
Wasn't a cartoon.
Or, excuse me, the image last meeting, and but I did see a professional agitator stand at this podium and tell everybody he was going to read a pornographic section of a book, and he did. And the president didn't do a thing. Just listened to him, nodded. I saw the board decide that professional input in book challenges was too great, so they substituted an additional board member and removed a professional, a librarian, in any book challenge in the future. I saw the board ignore precedent and tradition and maybe even the rules and re-elect a president who had been in an inflammatory position and an inflammatory person for his first year in the office. I've seen enough to know that this board either ignores rules or changes rules if it doesn't fit their personal agendas. And that has a cost, not just on the issue at hand, but in the 64 Parishes magazine, the most recent edition, there's an article about this library. And in it, the author tries to find 2 books, The V Word And this book is gay, 2 books that have been challenged and by this board and found to be, they didn't officially get rid of them. But when that author tried to find those books in the library, both books were assumed lost. So not only are you ignoring the rules, but you've encouraged people, unknown people, to check these books out and violate the very principle of a public library, which is borrow and return. And if there's anything else you should be held accountable for, it's the fact that you're undermining the very principle of a public library.
Good job.
Mitzi Maddox.
Hello, my name is Mitzi Maddox. I'm a resident and property taxpayer of Lafayette Parish. I would like to take the time to urge the board to find the courage to stand up against the First Amendment violations that continue to happen at these meetings. I find it fiscally irresponsible to flagrantly violate constitutional rights of taxpayers and then potentially put those same taxpayers on the hook for damages. I would prefer to have our tax funds go to things like library programming and new books. As a proud mother of 3, I'm absolutely capable of choosing appropriate materials for my children. In my career, I work with children and their grown-ups. I'm certain those adults are also capable of choosing appropriate materials for their children. The silly culture war antics that this board continues to wage are frankly embarrassing. It truly is as simple as, if you don't like it, don't read it. Thank you.
Melanie Champagne.
Melanie Champagne, Lafayette Parish. Last week, is everyone paying attention?
You won't look at it.
Last week, I opened up a newspaper in my driveway, and I read about a lawsuit that was filed against LCG and Robert Judge. The lawsuit about the censorship and the First Amendment issues that are happening on the monthly basis here at this board, this meeting. And as a mother, as a teacher, if I would tell my students what happened here, their young little hearts would be absolutely outraged. And if young people can behave in middle school in a more professional and love of literature way, that's a little bit disappointing. This lawsuit is embarrassing for our community. And the censorship and the issues that happen at these meetings are a betrayal of the contract that the library patrons have with the board. The Fane pornography outrage, the turning off of services like the charging stations, the absolute confusion of Robert's Rules of Orders, the flip-flopping of procedures that continue to happen here. I'm sure most of you mean well, but I mean this very seriously. I think there are some people that are unqualified to be here and need to resign. That might be a really forward comment, but I want to tell you a quick little story. As a poor girl that was being raised by a single mother, I used to walk to the library because that library was a bridge to me and the future that I was hoping for. So when I went to the library, and if there were people that didn't like my non-nuclear family situation or any other social situation that disagreed with them and they pulled them from the books, I was left wondering if there's space for me in this world. Is there space for me in this library? I fell in love with Ray Bradbury, his writings. And one of my favorite quotes is, you don't have to burn books or ban the books to destroy a culture. You have to get people to stop reading them. Don't destroy our library system, and I ask sincerely that Robert Judge resign.
Croce, Lafayette Parish. I was one of 2 librarians on the reconsideration committee for This Book is Gay. Excuse me. During the last board meeting, a statement was made by one of our board members that I feel misrepresented our position. I'd like to clear that up. It was claimed that we said, parents aren't providing this information to children, so we need to. And then it went on to say, we just said that the library does not have loco parentis, but that's exactly what those 2 librarians wanted. And I'm sure they're not the only 2 in the whole library that feel that way. That is not what we said. And I find that claim personally insulting. At no time did either of us mention or infer that we felt compelled to push this book on any patron in our library or any team. That would be a violation of our professional code of ethics, and I dare say you won't find a librarian in our library system with those intentions. What we did say was that we believed that This Book is Gay has merit in our collection. And yes, we did mention that some teens may not be comfortable going to their parents for LGBTQ sex education. However, our job is to provide access to information, not to influence. And please don't say that we wish to act in place of parents. That was never implied. Furthermore, our position regarding this book on that committee was not based on personal beliefs. We looked to our library's collection development policy and its selection criteria, as well as professional journals and standard library review sources. And I'd like to just end with, according to a recent Gallup poll, 19.7, that's roughly 1 in 5 adults, and what's called Generation Z, and those are adults who are aged 18 to 25 in the year 2022. 1 in 5 identify as LGBTQ. If it is our goal to provide materials that reflect our very diverse community, then we must pay attention to all the voices and lifestyles in this wonderful community. Thank you for allowing me to clarify this.
Thank you.
Aaron Ordwin. Greg Ordwin.
They went home.
Mary Liv Garcia.
Mary Liv Garcia, Lafayette Parish. I intended to speak to you on about a program that's going to be offered Wednesday night on fentanyl, because I'm working with it and because I think it's important to use every venue that's available. It is not directly library business. However, I have presented the program information to the city council and the parish council, and LCG is one of our partners in the program. So with your permission, I would just like to share a little bit about the program. I think it's positive, and it's one thing that we can all agree on and not disagree on. I began to be interested in trying to do something to raise the level of awareness and accurate information in our community about the encroaching and deadly dangers of fentanyl. Wednesday night from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Downtown Convention Center, we're going to present an absolutely fabulous program. We have over 22 partners. We have a steering committee of over 50 people. Everybody that needs to be at this table is at the table. We just need people to come. They're going to teach parents how to talk to their children. They're going to teach children ages 13 and above how to develop refusal skills and how to avoid peer pressure. They're going to demonstrate how to properly administer Narcan because unfortunately, fentanyl is so dangerous that it's very difficult to reverse unless you can get to it quickly. They're also going to present 4 special areas of influence. The court system in terms of the drug court procedure, and that is being done through the 15th Judicial District, and the lead drug prosecutor, Eric Newman, is going to do that. We're going to have an ER doctor from Lourdes. We're going to have an Oxnard doctor who runs an opioid treatment facility. And we're going to have a first responder from Acadian Services who will talk about what it's like to try to pick these people up and get them to safety. So I encourage you, each of you, to consider attending. Bring your children ages 13 and above, your college students, your family members, and get a container of Narcan at your pharmacy and keep it in your car. You never know when it might be helpful. I have some folders, some flyers, and be happy to share them.
Mary, 1 second, if you could please. You said Wednesday, downtown convention center, from what time to what time, please? So everybody, you have some things to give out? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank God you're interested in that, Jesus.
Yeah, it's from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., March 22nd, 2023, downtown convention center. It's 124 South Buchanan Street, Lafayette, Louisiana. Thank you for bringing this up.
Where's the convention center downtown? What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
It's 124 South Buchanan, which is right near the railroad tracks, off of Congress.
The Rosa Parks Terminal?
I beg your pardon?
The Rosa Parks Terminal?
No.
No. Okay. Well, they let you
But at any
figure
rate,
it out.
yeah, but I brought enough material if anybody in the audience wants it, I'd be happy to share it with you.
Claire Delcom.
I just don't know where it is. I can't place it. You know what I mean? I love that. Love. Oh, there's Claire.
I'm Claire Delcom, Lafayette. This is from the ACLU. A person can decide that they don't want to read a certain book. A person can decide that they don't want their child to read that book. But a person cannot decide that an entire school or entire town can't read that book, especially in a public library where the democratic government is by the people, for the people, and that means the diverse people of the community. There are organized groups here, the Citizens for a New Louisiana and the Tradition Family Property Organization. They are conservative, quasi-religious groups claiming to be Catholic that do not follow the way of the love of Jesus, but instead are hung up on Old Testament laws. Real Christians love their neighbors as themselves, all their neighbors, and especially look out for the disenfranchised. I just want you to be aware that the pastors of Asbury Methodist, First Presbyterian, United Methodist, and St. Barnabas churches, each of them have written letters to our mayor to recognize and uphold the LGBTQ plus community, because that is what a Christian does.
Wayne Colvin.
Good evening, Wayne Colvin, Lafayette Parish here. When a business decides to open a new store, generally does a marketing study to see, what's the population trends, what's my customer base, what's the trends of my products and services I'm offering, what size building, location I need and everything. You heard me talk earlier tonight about some of the data that I presented on decreasing library trends and how that's been scaled down. Mr. Glenn spoke earlier tonight about the Northeast Library property being the first choice being looked like a wash and not going anywhere. So, you know, it begs the question, what size property and building do we really need? You know, I've asked a question before of this board, how many visitors do we expect to have come to this library in the northeast part of town that we want to build? I've yet to receive an answer, you know, and we went ahead with the property thing, but that's been sidetracked. So I want to make you aware of some additional changes that may influence you in how you think about this. Are you aware that the Lafayette Parish School Board has some of their school libraries and some in this area of the Northeast that the libraries are open during the summer? And they plan to have more next year. They were open this past year. They've also implemented the tech services. Now they have wireless internet, and they provided it to all the students through their Chromebooks and their iPads, and that was furnished to them right before school started last year. And that might be some of the things that's decreasing the number of visits and computer services used at the library and everything. So I'm saying, what size building do we really need? What size property do we really need?
Please be silent. He has the floor.
I'm sorry,
It's
I
his
have
turn.
Tourette's. It's hard. It's hard.
Thank you.
You know, the property we were thinking about before, as I recall, was about 130 parking spaces. The downtown library only has 122. So that was much larger than that, you know, and the 5.5 acres is probably about as large as what they have in the West region. So, you know, I'm just asking you to reconsider all these facts as we go forward and make the right decision so you know what size building and everything we want to use. Just consider those.
Thank you.
Pablo Mejia.
Okay, sir. My name is Pablo Mejia, and I'm a resident of Lafayette Parish, a parent, a veteran, and a library supporter. Today, the board president, in the interest of streamlining the meeting, stated that board members would be limited to a single turn to speak with a limit of 10 minutes. Presumably, this is being done under Robert's Rules of Order, but given that these rules are enforced haphazardly, I'd urge board members to clarify in the bylaws what specific rules are going to be followed. The board president should not unilaterally decide to interfere with the performance of board members' duties by limiting their ability to speak, question, or comment as many times as they feel they need for as long as they like. The board president's role is to facilitate the function of the board, not to inhibit board members from acting. If the board wants to enact such speaking limits, they should propose, discuss, and enact that policy by vote. If the board president seeks to introduce it unilaterally under a vague and capricious implementation of Robert's rules, board members should introduce a motion to amend the bylaws to make it very clear what specific rules are being enforced to avoid being silenced. Secondly, I'd ask the board to consider a change in the scheduling of executive sessions. It places a needless burden on the public to force them to wait an indeterminate amount of time for the board to return from an executive session. Please consider moving executive sessions until after announcements and public comments on items not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ali Mejia.
Hi, my name is Ali Mejia. I'm 12 years old and I'm a resident of Lafayette Parish. And I'm speaking about the 10-minute limit time that the board president, Robert Judge, implemented early in the meeting. So you said that it was supposed to make comments faster, but personally I believe that the board president should not be able to restrict how long the board members speak and how many comments that they make. Mr. Judge also did previously in the meeting say that he was using Robert's Rules of Order quite loosely, and now seeing as how nobody here has a copy of Robert's Rules of Order in front of them, he seemed to be using them very arbitrarily. Honestly, it seems very unreasonable to limit board members' ability to make comments. Thank you.
Ava Rose Hunley.
Go? Okay. Well, my name's Ava Hunley. I'm a resident of Lafayette, born and raised in Southern Louisiana. And just for the record, before some people in the back of the crowd begin to laugh and fill me, I just want to say that generally in my young friend groups, I tend to be the most conservative. I want to have kids. I'm a Christian. I go to church every week when I can. And following that, I just want to say this whole thing with the library is starting to feel, with this board and everything, it's starting to feel more like a show rather than a board for the betterment of library functions. It's a mess to the point where now there's legal issues stemming from this. And there's obvious smugness and virtue signaling that is apparent to anyone with eyeballs or ears for some imagined threat of purity of children, most of it sourcing from like things queer in nature that through like no evidence everyone is saying causes all of these problems, but I'm kind of digressing with that. But that is an obvious ideological bias that is apparent again to anyone with ears. And I just want to say, like, as a taxpayer with now litigation and legal issues coming from this, it is now starting to cost us money. And I don't know whether or not this board is a paid position. A quick Google search couldn't figure that out if this is paid, but like the idea that like as a taxpayer, thousands, if not now, maybe even $1 million, if not more, are going to go for legal litigations over these haphazard virtue signaling meetings that I'm not quite sure what the point of. Thank you.
Sarah Riggs.
Hi, my name is Sarah Riggs. I've been a member of this library for about 25 years since I started attending UL. I had a few issues this meeting. I feel that whereas our librarians have the training and what qualifies them, you know, they have the professional code of ethics, they have education, they have training, they have experience. They're uniquely qualified to deal with these library materials and who has access to them and that their relevance or their importance to people in the public and the community. I'm not exactly sure, other than as a person who serves on boards and wants to be involved in my community, what qualifies you guys to feel that you have the right to decide what books come into our library, what books are available to people in our library. It's very familiar from what somebody said earlier, but one of my favorite quotes from an author is something that says eloquently, there is absolutely nothing wrong with a parent deciding a certain book is not right for their child. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is a colossal problem with that parent, or in this case, people on the board, people in the community, people from other parishes, coming trying to decide what is not appropriate for their child is not appropriate for any child in the community. I have used this library to homeschool my child who's getting ready to go to college. She's been very successful. She's got 15 hours of credit. This library has been instrumental in her being able to be so successful. And I don't, as a parent, I came in with her. I saw what she could see, what she could check out. I want her to have those types of materials available to her. Somebody mentioned suicide. You want to talk about suicide? Suicide is happening in the LGBTQ community when kids don't have one accepting adult. That's when you have suicide. When they don't have anybody to talk to or accept them, that's when you have suicide. You don't have it because you have a book that says this book is gay, okay? And I don't feel that anyone has the right to tell me what my child can read. You can absolutely tell your child what they can read. You don't get to tell everybody what their child can read. So thank you very much.
Narika Ross.
As a Lafayette Parish resident and frequent visitor of our library, I'm here to express my belief that it's crucial for library board members to receive training on Robert's Rules of Order. For those who may not be familiar, Robert's Rules of Order is a set of guidelines for conducting meetings and making decisions in a fair, orderly, and efficient manner. By following these rules, meetings can run smoothly and everyone has an equal opportunity to participate and be heard. In my opinion, it's essential for library board members to be well-versed in Robert's Rules of Order. Not only does it help ensure that meetings are productive and fair, but it also helps build a trust and respect among board members, staff, and the community as a whole. As a patron of the library, I want to have confidence that the board is making informed decisions and operating in a transparent and efficient manner. Training in Robert's Rules of Order can help to achieve this goal. Therefore, I urge the library board to consider making Robert's Rules of Order training an annual requirement. And as a reminder, as we exercise our freedom, we also must be mindful of the impact our choices have on others and the world around us. We can choose to be kind, compassionate, and empathetic, and contribute positively to society. And it appears everyone has forgotten that God has no gender. God is neither man nor woman. So I'm confused why you all are constantly attacking the LGBTQ community. We are not supposed to judge. In fact, we're supposed to love our neighbors.
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Any board members have any comments? Yeah. I do have a couple of things. Some people are concerned about the electronic vehicle charging or the electric vehicle charging stations being shut off. Yeah, I'm sorry. Both of these work. Okay. There was an email. There was an email that Mr. Mullane sent to KAPC TV on Thursday, I believe, March 16th. This was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There are two concerns. One of them is Louisiana Constitution, Article 7, Section 14A, and he referenced also the Louisiana Attorney General's opinion, number 22-0024, and Louisiana Attorney General opinion number 92-53. Based on those two, and I have them here with me, actually, the electronic vehicle charging stations are actually illegal. They violate the state constitution for several reasons. In response to the criticism, and I understand, I mean, they've been up for a few years. I didn't get into who did what when, it's not the point. As things go on, we find things out. And if we find things out and we find out that something that was done that was improper, then we have a duty to discontinue that. The fact is that these charging stations are not in compliance with the law of Louisiana state law. And so I'm going to send this information that I gathered from the Legislative Auditor's Office, the Legislative Auditor's Office regarding these opinions. They were pretty adamant that there's a three-pronged test that is involved in this as well. It's called the Cabela's test. So I would invite the news media to maybe take a look at that, and they could report accurately how that works. again, these opinions have been out there. It's real easy to find out. So until such time as someone can show that they are in fact legal, I think these charging stations were installed illegally. I'll say illegally. However they came about, I didn't get into that. I was just trying to determine whether or not it was appropriate or not, or legal or not. They're not legal. That's why they were shut off. Danny's email to KATC TV was at 2:01 p.m. Danny sent me the email at 2:01. And I would ask the media to be accurate. This is at 3:14 in the afternoon, that same afternoon, the same person from KATC TV wrote to me and asked, or said, I was informed by the West Regional Library Director, Danny Gillane, that he was instructed by the Library Board of Control to turn off the electric vehicle charging stations in the parking lot on Monday, March 13, 2023. That is not the case. And she already had the answer from Danny about who was responsible for the decision. Danny made the decision. I just did some research on my own because I wanted to have whether or not they were legal or not, and whether or not they should continue or not. They're not. So that's why they're shut off. I don't have anything else. If any other board members have anything. No? Okay. We can stand. We'll end with a prayer, and everybody have a safe trip home, please. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Again, Heavenly Father, we thank you for all of the graces that you have blessed on us this day. We ask that you please watch over everyone as they depart, and so they can get home safely. And we thank you for this day, and thank you for all of the blessings that you have given us in this country, in this community. And amen. And in the name of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Meeting is adjourned.
Respectfully ask that everyone leave immediately because I have staff staying late to keep this building open and the library is closed and they want to go home to their homes and pets and families.